What's going on, everybody? Shonen Express here, coming to you with another weekly newsletter. So, a lot happened in Weekly Shonen Jump this week. I can't wait to get into it, so I'm just going to jump right in. So, this week, the cover page was One Piece with chapter 985 that came out this week. This was an amazing chapter. I mean, first of all, just the color spread that we got of Kid, Luffy, and Law riding on top of those parrots. It was, I mean, a beautiful drawing. Oda always does crazy awesome drawings for his color pages too. But it was really nice. It was exceptionally cool, I thought, to see that. But getting into the chapter, there are so many things, and I can't really spend as much time here as maybe it deserves. There are tons of other guys who review One Piece specifically every week. I definitely encourage you to check them out. But just kind of going over it quickly, Kiku was dope this chapter. We saw Kiku talking with Kanjuro, and like when Kiku puts on the mask and is like, my wounds don't heal even in the afterlife, like the snow in the spring, it lingers and torments you going forward. I thought that was awesome. Kiku is really cool. Definitely in that fight was awesome. I liked Nekomamushi and Inuyasha's little, like, talking about their missing limbs. I love that Inuyasha has the sword leg and Nekomamushi has his gun arm, like the guts-looking gun arm. I thought that was really cool. I thought it was funny and very One Piece-esque that Oda kind of put that in the middle of them fighting and having that confrontation. I thought it was kind of funny, and it was kind of par for the course, I thought. But I also kind of moving forward, Yamato for Straw Hat. I am so on board for Yamato to join the Straw Hat Pirates. It is tough to kind of know who I want to pick out of the possible candidates, but I definitely think Yamato deserves to be a Straw Hat candidate in Wano here, and I would be super hyped if she does end up going with the Straw Hats after this. I'm very interested in Yamato, and I think Yamato's a cool character, so I would love for her to join the crew. Also, Orochi. That was crazy. That moment was insane. First of all, this made Kaido way cooler of a character, to me at least. That one moment really shocked me. Now, I will say, spoiler alert, if you haven't read the chapter, by the way. I should have said that probably at the beginning. But definitely, if you haven't read the chapter, stop listening to this. Skip ahead, a little bit. But I don't think Orochi's dead. I think that there's very future. I hope that he is. I think for story-wise, it'd be cool if he was actually dead. But I doubt he is. But who knows? It could definitely be. He could definitely have actually been taken out there. But the way, so like King just like hands Kaido the sword, like you see, I didn't notice it till my second read through of the chapter, but like King like kind of holds his sword up for Kaido to grab and then slash Orochi with. It was such a cool moment, and then we get the Big Mom moment and the whole reveal about Kaido and Big Mom's plan to get the ancient weapons, find the One Piece, and take on the world government, be this giant military force that can oppose the world government. I thought that was super cool too. Overall, One Piece was an amazing chapter this week. I don't have to tell you that. Again, there's about 1 billion chapter reviews out there that are going to tell you that. But I definitely thought One Piece was super cool this week. But moving on to another very notable chapter this week, maybe even more notable, is chapter 402 of Haikyuu came out. And this is the last chapter of Haikyuu. This marks a couple things. First of all, that means that currently, unless another one's introduced next week, there are no sports manga running in Shonen Jump now. So next week will be the first week without any sports manga whatsoever running in Shonen Jump, which is interesting and a rarity if you look at the history of Weekly Jump. It's rare for there not to be any sports manga. I mean, Haikyuu has been running for years now, so it's definitely held its spot there, and there was, but Haikyuu is over as of this chapter, and so this chapter, again, got a really cool color page. I loved seeing the color page where it went back to them in high school, and all the different teams that we saw were together. What I really love about this whole last little arc of Haikyuu is all of the callbacks that they have. You see almost anyone. I think one of the things Haikyuu did really well was introduce you to all of these opponent characters and really get you to care about them. And so what I love that this ending arc does is it highlights all of those characters. Almost, if you pick one character from a team that we saw play before, you can find them and what they're currently doing in this last arc. And I think that that's really cool. I also like that it was broken up. It wasn't all at one time. That was really cool. I think a good idea. But I just love all these callbacks, and what a great way to end the manga. I think that this was a great ending overall. We see the Olympics, and for the very last panel to be, Hinata and Kageyama on different teams squaring off again, I thought was really cool. It kind of presents this like cycle of them going up against each other and them playing volleyball with each other, and how I thought that was really cool. And I love how this kind of basic overview of volleyball is given in the little narration boxes at the end of this chapter. Just going back to, like, volleyball is a sport about hitting the ball back and forth between two teams. And out of that sport, we got 402 chapters of an amazing manga that is great. If you haven't read Haikyuu, I definitely encourage you to read it. If you're not, big into manga, the anime is fantastic as well. I definitely encourage you to check out Haikyuu because it's amazing. And now it's over, so we have all of Haikyuu that we're gonna get. But it was a great chapter for sure this week, which brings us to chapter 10 of the not the Promised Neverland. That one's over. Time Paradox Ghostwriter. So, Time Paradox Ghostwriter, as I said last week, is a manga that I really, really like. And this chapter showed exactly what I really love about this manga. We were all about Aino, and we got to see kind of Itsuki Aino's personality developing and all of that. And we got to see why is it that she would die in the future. And I feel like I can definitely say that it's from overwork. And it seemed... going off of that, my big question is she dead in this timeline? So we know that she dies still later in the future where she writes White Knight. We saw that last week, but this week, does she may have actually died, but I don't know. This manga skips around in time a lot. I mean, it is Time Paradox Ghostwriter, so it does already deal with kind of time skipping stuff, but so sometimes it gets a little hard to understand, but I really like this chapter. I really liked seeing into Aino's personality and getting a little more about her. And, I mean, with that panel at the end kind of implying, like, she's dead, that was crazy for sure. So, then, we've got chapter 278 of My Hero Academia. Another amazing chapter this week. My Hero Academia was on break last week, so it had to come back strong this week. First of all, the villains being on the back of Gigantomachia, is a cool little thing, and obviously it played into Midnight getting taken down later, but that was interesting. Mount Lady has put in the work. So I have a friend who is like super, like Mount Lady is his favorite My Hero Academia character. Now, he's not a real fan of My Hero Academia anyway, but I kind of laugh it off. I find Mount Lady, I have found Mount Lady to be more of a jokey kind of character, or at least more of like the slice of life kind of character. But Mount Lady put in work against Gigantomachia. I mean, she was pushing him back, and at the end, holding his foot down. It was really dope. I was super excited to see her be doing that. Also, Midnight and Momo's connection. Midnight, first of all, I think Midnight may be dead. I think Midnight may have just been taken down and actually killed this chapter, which would be insane to see a UA teacher actually die. But on top of that, Momo's leadership skills, stepping up, and taking care of what needs to be taken care of, putting together a plan, was great. I thought it was really cool, and definitely shows that how much Momo has grown, I think. But definitely a really good chapter for sure. So, moving on to Jujutsu Kaisen, which came out with chapter 115, another great chapter. This was mainly the fight between Sukuna and Jogo. And as I said last week, Jogo is one of my favorite cursed spirits, so I really liked the idea that he was going to fight. And this fight was so cool to me. I love how Jogo is trying to like continue to be relevant in this fight and pull more moves that will, at least injure Sukuna. And I love that meteor thing he did at the very end. Like his biggest move. That was amazing. I already like Jogo, but this chapter made me love Jogo even more. So that was really cool. Sukuna obviously is so cool. I mean, he's just well above Jogo in power and just playing with him and using the fire. I'm so excited for next week because I think we're going to get more about this fight and we're going to see them go toe-to-toe just in firepower. I'm very excited about that. But the one moment that was really cool, first of all, that guy who's with Panda, we got to see a little bit of his sword skills. That was cool. Then, so when Sukuna comes down there and he says, "You can't move until I tell you to," that was a really cool moment. It was just overall an amazing chapter for sure. Which will bring us to Black Clover, chapter 258. And again, an amazing chapter. This week is just full of insanely good chapters. But, so, Black Clover this week, we got to see Yami and Asta fight together, which was so cool. And something that I'm not sure that we've ever seen in this manga. But we get to see, like, I love how Yami, like, even kicks Asta to the side at one point, like how they're looking out for each other and stuff. And Asta has that conversation with the devil inside of him for the first time, almost like Naruto used to do with the nine-tailed fox. That's what it kind of reminded me of. But so to access more power, so I'm really excited next week to see what that more power is. But just seeing this fight this week was so cool. Black Clover definitely was awesome. Moving on, Act Age came out with chapter 121. This was a fun chapter. I like that the three girls are kind of just going around having some fun and trying to find out more about Satsuki and kind of what makes Satsuki who she is. And I like that Satsuki looks up to Yonagi so much that like when they're thinking about like what face do you what's your admiration face, and like she can only think of thinking about Yonagi, and that's really cool. I think shows like this cool big sister relationship that they have. And I love Tamaki's comment at the end when she sees Yonagi still up trying to figure out how Yonagi's going to play Manami in the upcoming Taiga drama. But I like Tamaki's comment of like, wow, she's really scary. Like, Yonagi's no joke of an actress. I mean, we've seen this from day one. I am a big fan of Act Age, as I'm sure you know if you've watched this channel for any amount of time. But it was definitely a very cool chapter this week. And, nifty to see. I'm sure we're going to get into more of the actual acting stuff, the Taiga drama next week. But I'm excited to see that. But it was a good chapter. So Dr. Stone, chapter 159, came out. And, again, really, really cool chapter. So Stan is super cool. Stan is like this amazing sniper that I did not think Stan was going to be. But to be able to like measure everybody and snipe them. I love the bulletproof vest idea that Senku comes up at the very end. It doesn't look like it stopped I think that he didn't get hit that hard, but he definitely got hurt because I think I saw some blood in that. Like through the bag there. So I think it did puncture the bag and maybe even leave a mark on him. But I think that he's going to be okay. Zeno, this chapter, was more like evil than I thought he was going to be. I didn't think he was going to be this antagonistic. But Zeno actually is turning into a pretty cool villain. And a very, interesting villain to talk about, especially for a guy like Senku to go up against. I think... definitely very, very cool stuff that we're seeing in Dr. Stone this week. I'm excited to see more. Undead Unluck came out with chapter 25 this week. This was a good feels chapter. I like this stuff with Tatiana and Fuko and how they both have this negator ability that kind of makes it hard for them to interact with the world. And I like the shaking of the hands thing. That was cool. And it was a feel-good chapter. I'm super excited to see what Tatiana's ability is like what that negator ability is once she comes out of that robotic shell. I'm very excited to see that and how it's going to help fix Fuko. Now, I will say I'm a little worried that Unrepair is going to get killed, because Unrepair is such a cool villain. I would hate for him to get killed right now. But, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I hope not. I hope that something that Tatiana does fixes Fuko without killing Unrepair. But we'll see what happens and go from there. But it was definitely a cool Undead Unluck chapter this week. Which leads us into Bone Collection, which came out with Chapter 12. Now, as you probably know from last week, I am not a big fan of Bone Collection. Not my favorite manga. However, this week was really good. As I said, last week got 1 thumbs up because I did think it was a good chapter. This week, it did really well for me as well. There were so many cool things. We got to see Akifuyu and the guy who keeps saying samurai, the 2 exorcist kings there, fighting against the fox yokai, like Kitsune, right? That's his name. Yeah, I think it's Kitsune. But we got to see, first of all, we got to see Kitsune just destroy a bunch of exorcists. And then they go up and they fight him and they kind of take him down. Now this barrier's erected. It was really cool. I like the stuff with Runa too. I think Runa's a fun character and I like all of that. And it gives Pyra and Kazami a reason to get together and fight. And I think that this little symbol, this little skull symbol is super cool. I'm really... This is why I continue to read manga that in the beginning I think, I don't like that so much. Because I think that this manga now has the potential to be a really cool shonen battle manga that I wouldn't have given it credit for. I would have stopped reading before now. But I really think it's coming into its own. It's coming into its stride, and I'm very excited to see where it goes from here. As long as it stays away from the gag aspects that it was kind of leaning on pretty heavily in the beginning, I think we're going to be doing okay for Bone Collection. But it was a great chapter this week, and I definitely can't wait for next week. Which brings us to Mission Yozakura Family. Chapter 44 was what came out this week. I'm so glad we stuck with Tanpopo. We stuck with that storyline, and we're continuing to go down that road. That's what we need to be doing in this manga. I love that last week we got to know where this guy is, one of the leaders of Tanpopo is, and this week we went to that hotel. That was the best. I love that Tayo dressed up as the big cat that lady has. That was really funny. That's how he snuck up there. I thought that was interesting. The owner of the hotel, that big bulky guy, he was really cool. I really liked him, and this fight is going to be really cool. We only saw the beginning of it, but I think there's more to come. But this fight was cool. To see Tayo just totally get destroyed was kind of a shock, because Tayo has become quite strong at this point. But I'm so interested in what Tanpopo is. I want to know more about that, and this chapter was great for that, and I hope that we continue down this story arc and this storyline. One that we started with one of my favorite villains, that was that clown politician guy way back. It started all the way back there. I hope that we continue that now, but it was definitely a really good chapter, which we'll move on to Mashley, Magic and Muscles, which released chapter 24 this week. It was an okay chapter of Mashley. I actually think that it was okay. It was a cool kind of fight between one of the main characters. I forget his name now. This is how much I don't like Mashley anymore. The fight between these two guys was cool. The whole Gravioli thing being his attack name is getting old very quickly, especially because he says it like 6 times in this chapter. It's not a pun anymore, and so it's weird that he keeps calling out that. But the mud guy was interesting, offered an interesting competition for the protagonist in this fight. I really should learn his name, but so it was a cool fight. It was an okay chapter for sure. No real complaints, but you know, it's Mashley, so it was okay this week. Next is Mitama Security Spirit Busters, which came out with chapter 45 this week. This was funny. I liked the Psy stuff at the beginning. I thought the YouTuber bit was kind of funny with Rina. I like how they named her Reina, as using that the whole thing, like the secure AT. Like, they've been doing that from the beginning. I like that they did it with her name. So it was a good chapter. I definitely think it was a great chapter, and wouldn't take anything out of that. Yeah. Moving on to Chainsaw Man, chapter 78 came out this week. It was a really good chapter, but it was a really sad chapter. I mean, to see Aki. So in Aki's head, what's happening is he's just having a snowball fight with Denji and Power and some of these other people. But I mean, it flashes back to reality, and he's like destroying things. People are dying. It's insanely destructive, and he's just having fun. And that last panel where Denji's just on the ground in the snow, I hope that Aki comes to his senses somehow, and he comes back under control. But either way, this is gonna be really tough, and I don't think that anybody's gonna be the same after this. As I said, the relationship that Denji, Power, and Aki had developed between each other is one of the things that I really liked about this manga that's currently going on. But that's all going to change in the next couple chapters. So I'm excited to see where we go, but also, holy cow, it's very intense. Which brings us to Ayakashi Triangle, chapter 6. I didn't like this chapter. Ayakashi Triangle has been this manga that's kind of on the edge for me, because it's not really what I'm looking for. It's not quite a shonen battle manga. It's trying to ride this line, I think, between shonen battle and harem manga, which is a weird line to ride. I don't know how many other manga have really done this, and I'm definitely not a big fan of the harem manga, as evidenced by the fact that I don't read We Never Learn, which is the only harem manga in the magazine right now. But this rides that line, and this chapter got like that. It was fine that they were having, they were getting to know the friends and all of that, but it just there were a couple panels where I was like, oh boy, here we go with the fan service again. But either way, it wasn't the worst thing in the world, but it definitely wasn't my favorite chapter this week for sure. Which brings us to Magu-chan, God of Destruction, which released chapter 5 this week. This was a good chapter. I like Ruru's friend, which I again should definitely know his name, but he's really fun, and between him and Naputaku this chapter, I liked their interaction. I liked how they got along, and that was really funny. I thought it was cool that we saw what's inside Magu, the void that's just up there, space. That was kind of funny, and the whole chapter was pretty good, and I like what ended up happening in the end and all that. Again, a feel-good chapter for sure, but I don't have a whole lot to say about it, so we'll move on to Hard-Boiled Cop and Dolphin. Chapter 4 was released this week. So we got to know about Chaco, and that she has these revelations where she makes a prediction, and then the thing happens. But she's just it's whatever pops into her mind. And so this is highly sought after. We got the ocean gangs thing there at the end. This manga is getting crazy, and I'm super excited because, again, I'm getting flashbacks to Beelzebub and flashbacks to all the hype things that were set up in Beelzebub, and I'm getting that same feeling from this manga, and that is really cool because I think I actually like this setup even better than I like the power system and everything in Beelzebub. So I'm very excited to see how this manga keeps going out. And I thought the gun joke was really funny when Samejima just picks up the gun and starts shooting at Dolphin. That was funny. I liked that. I liked that part. Overall, it was a really cool chapter this week. So it's definitely good. Moving on to Me and Roboko, chapter 3. I actually thought this chapter was funny this week. Again, like I said last week, I'm not a super fan of Me and Roboko, but I did think this chapter was funny. I thought that there was, some funny jokes. I love that this school idol is I love the physical change she had to this gruff dude when she plays games. It's really funny. But it was funny, and I like that it shows these people that we look up to so much and we idolize so much are just people too. I thought it was kind of funny. So it was definitely a good chapter this week. Which brings us to A Gravity Boys, which came out with chapter 29 this week. Again, I think this chapter was better than last week. I legitimately laughed several times at this chapter. This broccoli thing is killing me. I know it probably just means that I'm really immature, but it's really, really funny. When they bring out that one like mutated strand of broccoli that's like the size of a guy, like it was just hilarious to me. I really loved seeing it. Yeah, I can't get over it. It's really funny. I love that. I love that there's different like sites where these fights can occur. Baba the whole time is making me laugh. It's really cool. I really like this chapter. I thought it was really funny. Again, A Gravity Boys is not one of my favorite manga, but I will say with this arc, this like flashback arc, it is really rising in the ranks for me. Especially as concerns the gag manga currently running. But I thought it was a really good chapter this week for sure. And then the last one is Mori King, which released chapter 13 this week. I thought it was funny. I thought it was really heartwarming. I like that Shoko is beginning to accept Mori King in this everyday life sort of way. I thought it's funny that he came to school and all that. I thought it was genuinely a good chapter. It was a heartwarming chapter and kind of what I'm looking for in Mori King. Just to have a heartwarming kind of experience, and so I really liked it. So I definitely think it was a good chapter. But that will bring us to the time of ratings. So I will say the ratings are extremely high this week. A lot of 2 thumbs up and a lot of 1 thumbs up. But as always, we will start with the lowest common denominator, which this week there are no 2 thumbs down. There is only one thumb down. And that is Ayakashi Triangle. I didn't like it this week, as I kind of said. It got a little too close to the harem side, and that's why Ayakashi is 1 thumb down this week. But then, starting on the 1 thumbs up. So in the 1 thumb up camp, we have Act Age this week. Like I said, solid chapter, solid Act Age chapter, definitely good, but nothing fantastic. So it gets 1 thumb up this week. Undead Unluck gets 1 thumb up this week for me. Again, solid chapter, heartwarming chapter, but I've come to expect a lot of really, really cool like revelations in Undead Unluck, and that wasn't this week, but definitely a solid chapter, gets 1 thumb up. Mashley Magic and Muscles gets 1 thumb up. It was a solid chapter, especially for Mashley right now. This is the kind of chapter I'm looking for. It was a solid fight, and I liked seeing it, so it gets a thumb up. Mitama Security Spirit Busters gets 1 thumb up. It was relatively funny and a solid chapter for Mitama, solid gag manga chapter, and so yeah, one thumb up for sure. Magu-chan God of Destruction gets 1 thumb up. Like I said before, it's heartwarming and definitely, it was a good chapter. It was a good Magu-chan chapter, so it definitely gets 1 thumb up. Hardboiled Cop and Dolphin gets 1 thumb up. This was hard. It was right on the line, but I think the reason why I gave it 1 thumb up and not 2 is that we haven't really seen anything this chapter. We just got a lot of explanation. While that was pretty cool, it stands apart from last week where I think it was super cool, everything that was going on last week. But Me and Roboko gets 1 thumb up. I liked Me and Roboko this week, and for this manga, definitely a stand-up chapter. So it got 1 thumb up. And the last one in this category is Mori King with 1 thumb up. Like I said, heartwarming chapter, but for a gag manga, I wasn't rolling on the floor laughing. So that's why we got 1 thumb up. Which leaves us with the coveted 2 thumbs up category. In this category is One Piece, amazing chapter. Series-shattering things happen in this chapter. Again, like I said, if Orochi's actually dead, this is one of the first times in the whole series Oda has done that, which is amazing. Definitely deserves 2 thumbs up. Haikyuu gets 2 thumbs up. As a final chapter, it was amazing, and as a series itself, it was amazing. Definitely deserves 2 thumbs up. Time Paradox Ghostwriter, 2 thumbs up. I love the stuff with Aino. I love learning why she's a mangaka, why she wants to be a successful mangaka, and write specifically a manga that appeals to everybody. Really cool. Definitely gets 2 thumbs up. My Hero Academia, 2 thumbs up. Was really cool to see the fight. Mount Lady putting in work, and Momo coming together to lead the team was really cool too. Jujutsu Kaisen gets 2 thumbs up. This fight was one of the coolest fights in the series for me so far, so it definitely gets 2 thumbs up. Black Clover, 2 thumbs up. Again, I would say this fight is one of the coolest fights in the whole series for me so far. Seeing Yami and Asta fight together was really dope, so it definitely deserves it. Dr. Stone gets 2 thumbs up. Super cool the way Senku puts together the bulletproof vest. A lot of action this chapter and a lot of cool developmental things happening this chapter. Definitely deserves it. Bone Collection gets 2 thumbs up. This may never get 2 thumbs up again, but it did this week. And the reason why is because for Bone Collection, this was an astounding chapter. It was amazing, and I hope all the other chapters will end up being like this in the future. Mission Yozakura Family, 2 thumbs up. Really cool. As long as we stick with Tom Popo, I think we're going to get a lot more 2 thumbs up chapters out of this manga. Chainsaw Man, 2 thumbs up. As I said, terribly sad manga this week, but an amazing one nonetheless, and so definitely deserves 2 thumbs up. And last but certainly not least, A Gravity Boys gets 2 thumbs up. As I said, I was rolling on the floor laughing about this manga this week, so it definitely deserves its 2 thumbs up status. So that'll do it for this week, guys. If you had anything to say about anything that I said, please leave it down in the comment section. I'd love to read what you have to say about my input or about Weekly Shonen Jump in general. Please leave it down in the comment section. If you liked anything I had to say, like this video and subscribe to my channel. I'll bring you weekly newsletters like this every week, along with the Pillow Fort podcast, which is going on every other week. So be on the lookout for that. Probably next Sunday or Monday, I'll have that released. So I would definitely look out for that, as well as other videos that I'm going to make about anime and manga as I do. So definitely subscribe to the channel. But for now, this is Shonen Express signing off.